especially wanted to go to Merida and study its water problems. What I saw was far worse than I'd been told. It's a city of 400,000 people that hasn't enough water. The water from the faucet is yellow and dirty, if there ever is any. You see septic tanks right out of the Middle Ages. Not very deep, cracked, and totally unhygienic. Leaking all the germs and bugs into the shallow, almost empty water table, where all this filth just flourishes. Contamination is 4,000 times the level accepted by the World Health Organization. And that's the water these people must drink. How much sickness, how much suffering is this causing? Like you said, it sounds like the Middle Ages. Neither the government nor any other international organization is doing anything about this. Well, it has to be expensive. So they talk and make promises, which gains them time and election victory. But there's oil in the country, and so there's money. When I think of the respect Native Americans had for their sacred water, well, what you're gonna find here in Mexico City isn't much better. With 20 million people, it's one of the biggest cities in the world and one of the most polluted. There's no clean air. They need 25 times more water than they have, but no one knows where to get it. It might have to come from 150 or 200 kilometers away. But how can people live in this? I know, not much to eat, nothing to drink. Wait, look over there. There's a water cellar. Though let's not think about the quality of the water. Anyway, it's far too expensive for most of these people. What's happened here? Has there been a tornado or an earthquake? Not at all. So much water's being pumped out of the upper water table, the ground subsided. In places, the city has dropped 10 meters. Bizarre, isn't it? Shall we give him a ride? Tell me, are there a lot of you who live in this way?
A lot. There's nothing else to do. There's no work.
Work? At your age? Can you show us some place where there's not enough water?
Down here. Hi there.
When I think that most of that could be recycled. The paper, the glass, the plastics, the metal. Yeah, but that would mean separating out all the garbage and then collecting it. And they can't afford to do that here.
No water today.
It's always the same thing.
Water! Water!
Poor people. And will the water he sells be any less polluted? What can we do? They really need wells here to provide better quality water. But where will they find it if they keep on poisoning the source? What about desalinating water from the sea? They say 10% of the Mexican population, in other words, the wealthiest, use 3/4 of all the water available. What an article that would make for the paper. One of the aims of the 2000 Millennium Summit in New York was to have the number of people worldwide with no access to drinking water. And that by 2015, we should be worried. But we saw no sign of this being achieved in Mexico. In fact, the situation seems to be getting worse. What can we do?
You're totally right, and we all need to let everyone know the truth. And affirming this truth will make our disinterested world understand. Now, you will already be aware of the reports from our friends who were in India, as well as my group in Niger, and you've just heard from Munya and Simon about Mexico. So, who else here has looked at other issues with water in the world?
I have. I wanted to find out about one of the greatest ecological disasters of our time, the Aral Sea. And it's pretty bad, I can tell you.
Good choice, yes. It's a classic case of human stupidity. So, tell us about it.
Well, it's in the east, somewhere to the south of Russia, between Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan. This is the Aral Sea in 1960, about 400 kilometers long, with breathtaking scenery, fantastic turquoise water, the fourth inland sea in size, and the largest freshwater lake in the world, and two rivers, the Sir Darya and Amu Darya, flowing into it. The inhabitants of its two towns, Aralsk in the north and Monyak in the south, lived there happily. There was plenty of fish, and it was always thrilling to see any trawler that had set sail return with its hold overflowing with fish. But today, the water's all gone. Now there's only sand, rusty trawlers, and desperate fishermen. What caused this disaster? Can you tell me that, Maestro?
Well, one fine day, the government planners of the time decided that cotton production should be increased, and that the land around the Aral Sea was suitable. However, a lot of water was needed, and it could only be taken from the two rivers. In the end, 96% of their water was channeled off to irrigate the fields.
I have some pictures. Just look. So in 40 years, the Aral Sea has lost 3/4 of its surface area and more than 3/4 of its water. So the sea's area started to shrink, leaving hundreds of boats stranded over more than 400,000 square kilometers. That's almost the size of California. So a dried up seabed meant no more fish and no more fishing because the concentration of salt was too high. 200 tons of salt, and dust and pesticides are carried away by the wind each day and stifle the neighboring farmland and contaminate air and water. Tens of thousands of inhabitants have no job and many are sick. 5 million people have been hit by the damage to the environment. So what can we do? Should we just forget it? Ignore what was once part of our Earth? Do we go to that extreme?
No, because I can assure you they are trying to channel those two rivers back to the Aral Sea. Anyone else?
Well, my parents and I visited China and Shanghai. What an amazing city, so vibrant. They work away, they build. I mean, one day you see the foundations of a building and a few days later, there's a skyscraper rising up to the clouds.
Whoa, you must have got it wrong. I think it was a different skyscraper.
That's all very interesting, but are we talking about water?
Yes, I'm getting there. At the hotel, they told us not to drink water from the faucet. It had become polluted because of the construction of the huge Three Gorges Dam. So we decided to go and see the dam. What can I say? I've never seen anything like. It's utterly gigantic. It's 2 kilometers from one bank to the other and 185 meters high. That's higher than the second floor of the Eiffel Tower. Over 2 kilometers? That makes it the highest dam in the world.
The biggest, certainly, but not the highest. The Itaipu Dam in Brazil is 196 meters high, 11 meters more.
It may be a few meters shorter, but it will produce 50% more renewable energy. Just for comparison, the biggest French dam, Grand Maison in the Isère, is only 140 meters high and produces 10 times less electricity. Well, you can see the Three Gorges Dam for yourselves. It will supply 10% of China's huge demand for electricity. They'd have needed to build 12 nuclear power stations or burn 50 million tons of coal, which would have released 100 million tons of carbon dioxide to achieve the same results. What do you think? Huh?
You know what, Julia? I didn't mean to upset you, okay?
So then, what do you think about these huge dams? Are you as enthusiastic as Julia?
Well, I don't like the fact they flood fertile land, which traps the fertilizing alluvium, destroying plant life and wildlife.
But they provide both energy and water where it's needed. And they don't pollute.
Maybe, but at the Three Gorges Dam in China, they began by submerging 10 cities and forcing 2 million people to evacuate, leaving them homeless and unemployed. So don't those guys matter?
There is now a huge stagnant reservoir in its place that itself is a source of pollution and disease.
And under the pressure of that enormous mass of water, even the most solid of barriers could give way. Can you imagine what would happen?
All of you are right, children. Well done.
Yes, Maestro. What can we all do to help out?
Yes, Maestro, what can we all do to help out?
I'd also like to understand where all this scarce water actually comes from, and why is it in such short supply?
First, let me answer that last question. But to do so, I'll have to take you a little bit back in time. Don't worry, just 4,600,000,000 years, all right? Now that piece of rock will become our moon. So far, so good, I hope. Over millennia, the rain finally forms the seas, the oceans, and all sources of water. Obviously, we needed our planet to end up in exactly the right place. 5% higher or nearer the sun, and all the Earth's water would have evaporated. It would have become arid and uninhabitable, like Mars and other planets. And just 3% farther away, and the oceans would have permanently frozen, right down to their depths. So we're not so bad where we are, eh? Earth is the only planet in the solar system with this wonderful thing called water, and with an atmosphere, and so with life. We call it the blue planet because 70% of it is covered in water. But only a tiny part of this water, barely 0.3%, can be used by humanity. Why? than 97% of the water is the salt water of seas and oceans. The tiny 3% of fresh water that remains is to be found in the ice caps of the North Pole and especially in the Antarctic around the South Pole. Then there are the mountain glaciers. And finally, just 0.3% is in the form of rivers, lakes, and water tables, and that's what we use. Put another way, if all the water on Earth fitted into this large bucket, then the fresh water at the poles, which we can't use, would fill this coffee cup. And so the water we can actually use would fit inside this little thimble.
That's right. Guess right. Yeah, right.
Can't we do anything to increase the quantity of water that people fight for and die for?
Oh, no, we can't. For this reason, we cannot increase the quantity of water in the bucket. It's always the same water that condenses, evaporates, turns into clouds, or rain, or storms, or hurricanes, forms glaciers, and then disappears into nature, and then returns after a time. Look, the water you drink today is the same water dinosaurs were drinking 100 million years ago.
Okay, Maestro, there's always the same amount. But what about sharing it? Couldn't we take water from where there's a lot of it and deliver it to where there isn't enough?
Oh, we could, without doubt, but it would be very, very expensive. And it'd soon go back to where it came from.
So isn't there a way of changing the amount of water available to increase the tiny 0.3% that humans have to live on?
That's an excellent question. We'll talk about it again tomorrow. Well, many of you have been traveling and have visited countries which have a shortage of water. So what impressions have you brought back?
In India, the Ganges is terribly polluted. 80 to 100 times more than rivers here, so what can we do?
And what can we do about their passive acceptance? Like when they say it's Shiva's hair.
Even if it is Shiva's hair, it needs washing from time to time.
Our water treatment techniques are too expensive, especially in a country that size. No, we must encourage different initiatives, like how to better collect rainwater, which could satisfy 80% of their needs. Teach them not to pollute, how not to irrigate, or do so with only recycled water, and how to build reservoirs. And we'll send them the things they need for purification to produce healthy drinking water.
When I was there, I thought a lot about the problem. And I found the answer. We tow a big iceberg from the South Pole to their country.
Whose turn is it now?
Well, we're just back from the Sahel where they'd love an iceberg.
That's all very well, but how can we help our friends in Africa?
You need to dig wells, lots of wells.
That's right. They have lots of water in their water tables over there.
And all the water they waste.
There's plenty of water in the rainy season, so they just need to collect it.
I read somewhere that they now make filter kits to sterilize dirty water and make it drinkable. We have to send them loads.
We have to send them tree seedlings and help them reforest. That's the only way to stop the desert spreading.
All good suggestions there. So we have to launch a formal appeal to international organizations, asking them to give help, to drill more wells, and send seedlings for planting and drinking water kits. Then we also have to contribute our energy and resources to help. Good. Other ideas?
In 10 years, there'll be a water shortage in Mexico. The rivers are drying up and the water table emptied. What do you think we can do for them?
I can see 3 solutions. Treating the wastewater, but on a countrywide scale, that won't be easy. Bringing water from a long way off in pipelines, but who has water to spare for them? Or desalinating seawater, as they have oceans on both sides.
But that needs a lot of energy and oil and money.
Well, there's oil in Mexico, and if not, there's solar power, wind power, and tidal power.
I think the future's desalination, and costs will come down. Good. Any other ideas?
My parents took me to Japan. What a place! In the basement of our hotel, there was a water processing plant. We visited it. It was very interesting.
It's a good idea and an example to follow. But now we have to sum all this up.
But what about farming, Maestro? We need to discuss that.
Now that's a complex subject, so we're going to spend a whole study session on it. So then, getting back to water. We have been raised in some kind of religion, belief in an unending supply of pure water. But because of the way people and their farming and industry have used it, this is no longer true, although no one wants to acknowledge it, not even our governments. Of course, they ask us to take showers instead of baths and check our faucets and our flushes. It's true, a dripping faucet can waste 35,000 liters of water a year. And if everyone, say, in France could save 10 liters of their water a day, that'd be enough to guarantee the supply to a city the size of Paris. We must all do it, and that's not even one single drop, no. And it's from that same thimble. With our drinking water, that industries and farmers wastefully pump all they want. Do they think that they are that big, that untouchable, so we can't set limits for them? Our Earth has a water sickness, and it needs treatment. We need strict laws against all excesses, against all misuse, and against all pollution. We need laws to tackle this issue for all industries, all agriculture, and all new urban development, and we need to do it quickly. Because if not, in a few years, 2 in every 3 of us will waste away due to lack of water. Because water is life itself.